Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's virtual event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. We are so excited for today's live event. We are going to connect with the legendary ladies of Hearts in the Ice. It's going to be an amazing event where we're going to get to learn all about what they've been up to the last 8+ months, overwintering in their trapper's cabin. We're going to have a chance to ask some questions. We're going to take part in an interactive quiz. All in all, it's going to be a really fun way to spend part of your afternoon. So a huge shout out to everybody I see starting to join us live via YouTube. I'm going to throw things over to Jeanette for a moment. Jeanette and Carolyn are going to take a moment to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get moving towards the main event.
Hi, everybody. Jeanette Bruce here. I'm the Marketing and Program Coordinator at Whistler Public Library, and it's a real pleasure to be here with everybody today. We're really excited to get started on this event. You're going to meet Caroline in a second, but I also want to mention we have a third partner in this event. So it's the Whistler Public Library, the Whistler Youth Center, and Luna Whistler. So 3 local organizations putting this event off together. I'm so excited that we were able to pull it together in such a short amount of time, and that Sunniva and Hilde were able to fit us into their kind of crazy schedule. You're going to hear more about that in a minute. I also just want to thank Wistlife. They're a local business that donated some prizes for the quiz that we're going to be doing later. I think that's it from me. Oh, and if you like what you see today, we really highly encourage you to support Hearts in the Ice. You can donate right on their website, and we'll also share the link to their GoFundMe on the library's page after the event is clued up.
Fantastic. My name is Carolyn. I am a recreation programmer for the Youth Center in Whistler. And yeah, we are really happy to have pulled this together in the last week with you wonderful ladies. So thank you so much. And thanks to Joe for your help. And I think that Jeanette covered most of everything. I think we've got a bunch of students out there watching in Whistler, which is really exciting. A shout out to you guys. If you have questions, remember, Joe's going to tell you how to access that. So thanks, everybody. Really excited about this.
All right. Awesome. Well, Jeanette and Carolyn, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you did to help get this event together. And as they did mention, we're going to have a little quiz towards the end of the event today. So keep an eye out, an ear out, listen to what Hilde and Sunniva say today, because that can mean the difference between glory of a big prize or just knowing you did your best. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to share in the YouTube chat sidebar the link to get to the Slido room very shortly, and I'll share the event code to get in there as well. So if you jump in there, you'll see the instructions for how to join us in the quiz. All right, I think it's time that we get to the main event. The reason we're all here joining today, we have Sunniva Sorby and Hilde Strom. They have done it. They spent over 8 months living in the remote trapper's cabin, Bamsebu in Svalbard, becoming the first women to do so on their own. During this time, they took part in a ton of different citizen science projects, including monitoring the auroras, taking ice core samples, measuring phytoplankton, and much, much more. Now, I run an organization called Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. Each month, we do 30 to 50 live events connecting scientists, explorers, adventurers, and conservationists with classrooms all across North America. And I had the pleasure of hosting 2 to 3 events each month with Hilde and Sunniva live from Bamsebu. Now, these events had different experts joining us, from marine biologists to polar scientists, from meteorologists to filmmakers. And all these events, Hilde and Sunniva joined via satellite phone. So it's so incredible to be able to see the 2 of them on camera, even though it's just for a short period of time before they head back out. But it is so great to see the both of you. We're excited. We're thrilled to have you, and we can't wait to hear a little bit of what the past few months have been like.
Thank you, Joe.
Ooh, thank you. And in case you're missing the satellite phone connection, Joe, I brought it just so you could see it. This is really exciting to actually share this time with everybody in the Squamish community and the Whistler community, because this is the first public video call that we've done in 8 months. So this is, thank you, Carolyn, so much for setting this up, and Joe for on the fly being able to host yet another call. We're keeping Joe very busy. we are right now, just a quick little intro before we get going with a video and some slides to show you what in the world we've been doing for 8 months. We are right now in Longyearbyen with regular Wi-Fi. We came in on
And a shower.
and a shower and yeah, a little bit of a haircut, both of us, and a porcelain toilet seat. I just had to put that out there because outhouses are overrated. We are in Longyearbyen. We've been here since Saturday night late. We rode 140 kilometers with our Lynx snowmobiles, and Etra ran, not the entire way, but it was a 6-hour trip. And we're here until Friday. So it's great that we were able to squeeze this in with the community, because our big part of our platform is communication, and the kids are really very important to both of us. So we'll be excited to share more and hear the Q&A and run everybody through the quiz. So thanks to everybody out there that's watching. Karen, Elliot, if you're on the call, and all the community and everybody. So thanks for joining.
All right, excellent. Well, I'm going to share my screen now, and we have a great little video to share. So bear with me for one moment as the screen share kicks in, and we should be going now.
Oh.
Ved hjertet i isen en 9 måneders historisk overvintring på fangsthytta Bamsebu på Svalbard. Overvintringen gir oss en unik mulighet til å oppleve de magiske skiftningene i det arktiske lyset, kjenne på polarnattens makt og naturens krefter. Og målet å leve i harmoni med naturen og dyrelivet.
In our modern world, we've gotten away from a need to actually live off the land and survive. And so what an incredible experience to just take away all that distraction and look at this around us, 360 of beauty.
Vi har begge sett store forandringer i de polare områdene, og ønsker å gjøre noe, og bidra. Vi vil bruke våre 9 måneder på Bamsebu til å formidle et enkelt og energibesparende liv. Vi ønsker å skape et engasjement og invitere til små endringer i folks liv der hjemme. Vi håper at vi ved å dele våre opplevelser, våre observasjoner, testing av nytt utstyr og forskning på Bamsebu kan inspirere andre til å bidra med å rydde plast, være bevisst på emballasje, matavfall og energiforbruket deres. Kun noen få kvinner har overvintret på Svalbard, men aldri uten menn.
I can remember the first dream that I had. I was 10 years old and I wanted to go to the moon. Fast forward to the age of 30, I was invited to be part of the first team of women to ski to the South Pole. 67 days, 700 miles, 200-pound sled. It was the most grueling expedition of my life. But there's nothing harder than the load that I feel by having borne witness to all of the change in the Arctic and the Antarctic over my close to 25 years of exploring in the polar regions.
Helt siden jeg var liten har jeg trivdes med snø og vinter. Som 12-åring fikk jeg en bok om fangsthistorie på Svalbard av faren min. Samme året fikk jeg en polarhund som het Nannok. Han var en fantastisk turvenn og en flott trekkhund. Ved siden av hundekjøring har jeg fått mye felterfaring her i Arktis, inkludert et opphold på Bjørnøya i Jan Mayen. Alt fra fangst, storviltjakt, lange ekspedisjoner og mer enn 200 isbjørnmøter. Jeg har kjent på det barske været og lange måneder med polarnatt. Jeg føler at mine 23 år på Svalbard gjør meg godt rustet for overvintringen.
Both of us will become citizen scientists. We're going to collaborate with researchers, and we will share out the impacts of microplastics in the ocean, of which we know there is plenty, changes in the permafrost, which is a very real thing, changes in the atmosphere, and changes in the ice and the wildlife.
For 10 år siden var det et studie med døde havhest. De åpnet mavesekkene og fant plast i 5 av 45 havhest. Nå 10 år senere gjentok de studiet, og denne gangen hadde 40 av 45 havhest plast i magen.
And I'm actually a little bit afraid of the polar bears.
I have read a lot about polar bears. I've seen a lot of beautiful video imagery and stills, but I've never been in a place where I'm actually can't get away from them. I know that it'll subside, I'm sure.
Det er kjærligheten til disse fantastiske områdene som gjør at vi har så sterkt behov for å bidra. Kan våre 9 måneder på Bamsebu engasjere oss alle til å foreta små justeringer for å bidra til å snu endringene vi ser? Med små grep kan vi sammen få til store forandringer. Dette året kommer til å endre våre liv.
All right, that should bring the screen share to an end. And oh my goodness, that video really puts into perspective where you were staying, how isolated you were, and how beautiful of a location it was.
Yes, absolutely. And this was before we left. And we're going to share now how the life has been at Bamsebu. And we're going to show you a presentation. And if we have time, we will also show you a little video snippet from this winter through the real overwintering that we have had. So Joe, maybe you can, or we can share your our presentation. There we go. Yeah, so what we have done is actually historic. We just came back from a historic overwinter, never done by 2 women before, and we're kind of proud of that. And I'm going to show you where we are. We are close to the North Pole. Oops. Ah, there you go. So you can see North Pole in the middle there. And just further down, a little bit further down, you see Svalbard, Norway, a little just on the right side of Greenland. And we are the northernmost society in the world, and we are at 78 degrees north.
Way out there, a long ways away from Whistler and Squamish.
And also away from everything else, actually. So this is a drone footage of our place, and this is how we describe it. You can see the hut down there. You can see our 2 snowmobiles there. We have solar panel and windmill. We have an ice container with actually ice. So we chop up ice for water, drinking water. And we have bear-proof food barrels out there. And yeah, and it's very, very small huts. We have also driftwood that we have collected during our whole stay, both summer, autumn, and winter, for us to, and they drift in from Siberia, and we chop it up and use it as a heat source.
One major challenge with what you're looking at right now is it looks organized, and we're pretty organized because of weather. And right now, just about everything is buried under a few meters of snow. So if we forgot something deep down somewhere, it involves a really extensive digging project.
Yeah, and this hut is built in 1930, and it's a trapper's hut, and it's really small, and it's not winter isolated. So we have had a very cold winter, and it has been ice cold also inside. Our challenge has been to keep away too many minus degrees inside, because then our food supplies inside the hut will freeze, and it's not very comfortable waking up in the morning and it's 3-4 minus degrees, I have to say. We've been there through all the seasons. Fantastic. It's a dream coming true to be a part of the nature like that, and this has been our shelter. Here you can see the solar panel. And we have one little thing that's sort of luxury. We have the little tiny house there is our sauna. This is the water supply that we have, container that we chop ice from and for drinking water.
And we filled that from the ship that dropped us off. We filled it with fresh water and it froze. And so we just chip it for.
And I'm sure if you have minus 20 degrees in Whistler area, you should try this. This is boiling water from a thermos, and Sunniva is throwing it over her head and it instantly freezes. And you can have some cool shots. This is inside. Food and water has been one of the biggest issues for us, and also our wood. So here Sunniva and Etra is washing Sunniva's hair. These are the barrels we talked about. We have bear-proof barrels with our supplies and food that can stay outside and be frozen all the time. And we actually had a polar bear that came in and turned those around and stepped on it and really tried to open it to get to the food. And inside there, I think it was a lot of chocolate. So, and you can see the footprint actually in the front there on the top of the barrel. It's not very easy to see, but it's paws from a big polar bear. And this is inside. We celebrated Christmas at Bamsebu. That was a really nice celebration. It was completely dark for 3 months, day and night, no change. I mean, it was the same amount of light, which was nothing. So, but we had a cozy time, and you can see the window has a shutter in front of it, and that was to prevent us to have a polar bear jumping straight through the window, because when it's completely dark outside, we can't sort of see how close they are and if they want to come in, and we would like to try to keep them outside. And this is what we do. We exercise a lot. We trained every day, or at least 6 days a week. We have a very tiny space, but we used our rubber bands and kept active, kept healthy. We wasn't sick for one single day, and I don't think we've ever felt stronger and healthier before. Yeah, were you going to comment something?
If you just go back for.
Sure.
I know that just about everybody out there is dealing with a lot of time at home. And this is definitely tiny living at its best, but space and using space. And, you know, that room that you're looking at where we're standing muscled up here with the rubber bands, that's my bedroom. That's the dining room, that's the living room, and that's our office all in one. And we just switch it up. You know, if you're going to do a lot in a small space, just really make that space represent what it is you're going to do, and it helps your mindset.
Yeah, and also you see Etra is in the kitchen there, and that's where I sleep, and it's not room for her in the living room while we're training. So that's how small the space is, and that's it. That's the living space. It's less than 20 square meters, which is basically nothing, and it's filled with everything we need: our provision, our clothing, our equipment, everything. And even Etra is stretching. She is allowed to come in when we're finished and start to stretch, and then she wants some attention and cuddle. And you can see her stretch here to the right too.
Her perfect downward dog.
Perfect downward dog. And this is the way we actually clean our, we sleep is also very important for us. And we have a down, what do you call that? Comforter. And we put it out in the snow to make it fresh and clean. And we also obviously clean clothes, but this is too big for us to clean. And Etra, she obviously thought that this was her place to stay. So yeah.
And now we'll take you a little bit outside, and it's really hard for me to explain what it's like in the polar night. It was one thing that I had zero experience with before I came up here. I had maybe 3 nights a few years ago in the polar night when I came up to visit Hilde, but you see nothing. There are no lights in the distance. We have a night sky that is full of more stars than I ever believe existed on our planet. It's absolutely phenomenal. But along with that comes definitely lots of surprises. The photo on the right, you see some polar bear prints. We have had more visits from polar bears than we even know about, because we see the tracks around the hut, and it's a really strange feeling. We had a massive storm on the slide on the left there. It was so much snow that dumped in 24 hours that we could not get out that door. We had to crawl out the side window. And that's where you're really happy that you do yoga, because that window is really, really small. And it's just, you have to turn yourself into a tiny little worm to get out there. So we've definitely had an incredible amount of weather and wind and cold to deal with. So getting dressed, I mean, you're all from the west coast of BC. I don't need to tell you how to get dressed for the cold, but we wear clothing that I think weighs probably about 10 kilos when all is said and done. We wear a belt that has a knife, a Swiss Army tool, a flare gun, and we're always armed when we go outside, to the bathroom, to see the aurora, to anything. We don't leave that front door without being aware of and prepared for every single surprise. So I'm going to just share a couple of things about what we do outside, because we are shockingly busy at Bamsebu. We have projects. We fly a drone, and it's this guy right here. It's actually from a company in Vancouver, Indro Robotics, and it's an infrared drone, and it takes not just regular photos, but infrared photos of everything that it flies over and captures images of, which is really interesting, because part of what we're doing with the infrared stuff is measuring surface temperature. And Eric Saksuk from BCIT will turn all of the images we collect into 3D images of the landscape over the seasons. So this is a really, really interesting thing. It's one of our science projects. Another thing that we're doing is collecting ice core samples for Uranus up here. And the longest one we collected was 81 centimeters. That's a lot. That's thick ice that we are actually, our backyard is this fjord, this ice that you're looking at right here. So, and we collect that samples. We follow really extensive procedures to melt it and filter it and store it. Everything that we do has protocol that we follow for our science partners. That's the long core there. We were so proud. And on the right, we also take saltwater samples. We collect phytoplankton for Scripps Institute. We work with the Norwegian Polar Institute. We communicate. This was taken last August on a training trip, testing a communication. That box that you're looking at right there, we're the first civilians to use this MCD mission link from ground control in California. And it's a Pelican case. It's watertight. And I have to tell you, that thing is bomb proof. It has withstood, what's the coldest temperature? Has been
34.
And with the wind chill, minus 40,
45,
minus 45. Hurricane winds have really shaken Bamsebu. So that case has been amazing. It's been one of our ways to communicate. The antennas and all the cables run through that little hole to the right of the blue arrow. So everything gets funneled. This is a historic hut. So we are not able to alter anything on the outside of the hut. So we've been very careful to make sure that anything we feed into it runs through an existing opening. So all our wires go through this little hole, which ends up on top of my head, because that's where my bed is. So everything is just compact. And of course it sits outside at night all the time. And, green light from the mission link means it's on, and then just the beautiful lights in Aurora. We have recently become, they call us rocket citizen scientists now from NASA, because they was probably for a good 3 weeks, maybe
At least.
that they were telling us to stand by every morning, between this time and that time. So for 4 or 5 hours. and they were waiting for the right auroral conditions, the right magnetic activity, the right wind, and the right in 2 different places. So now you can see it's launching in 7 minutes. We had to get dressed like fire women. This was like, put on that 10 kilo of clothing, get out the door, get the camera set up, and photograph this amazing. What they did is they launched gases into the atmosphere to replicate aurora. And so they could measure and track what direction it goes in and how fast it moves and what properties it has. And it's far more evolved scientifically than I could possibly explain to any of you right now. So we'll leave it at that, but there's lots of material that we wrote about it from NASA. And of course, outside, we walk. Our feet are our transportation, and so is a snowmobile. We have 2 Lynx snowmobiles from BRP, and we use them to collect wood. That's the wood Hilde was talking about. And we use it also to take sometimes Ettore for a run. And it's also very helpful for us for wildlife observation. If we are wanting to, we don't get close to the wildlife, we stay at a distance, but if we see things in the distance, we can go and photograph. And this is Hilde's favorite hobby, I think.
Yeah, I mean, taking picture and be under a sky with a lot of northern light, it's absolutely the best experience that you could have. And we had no artificial light disturbing, so I think this night it was a little bit of a moon, and the reason why it's so red is because the aurora is really, really high up in the horizon. You can see a little bit green down there, and that's the action going on further down in the horizon. But it's beautiful, and this was our day. I mean, yeah.
Imagine being in this environment with this sky for over 3 months. I mean, I have no words. We have done a lot of writing. We've done a lot of photography. And it is an experience that will forever change me, because it's just, you do not feel alone. I think that our connectedness to nature on this, in this expedition, on this project, was so tight. We were just living under the aurora. We weren't looking north for them. We were under them. It was just so,
showering.
And we were living next to these guys. The polar bear was, I mentioned in that little intro video that I'm kind of scared. I mean, you should be scared of polar bears. They eat you, I mean, they could. So we are very fortunate to have had so many close encounters with the polar bears, far enough away to feel safe and close enough to be able to take some incredible photos. Including, like, how big was that polar bear? The largest one we saw was 600 kilo.
According to the scientists.
Because they were following that particular bear. They are massive. They are beautiful. And to witness this, we knew that this particular female bear was in the area, and they didn't know if she actually had given birth. So we were the first to see and confirm that, yes, in fact, she had a 4-month-old cub.
Less or lighter and smaller than Ettore.
Look at this cute little thing. I'm just and it ran out from away from its mother for a little while. We shut the engine off and we were completely quiet watching this experience. And it was there playing, and just to watch this, you honestly felt like it was a vulnerable moment for the cub to be far away from its mom, but also what a privilege for us.
And you can see that she has a collar on, the mom, and according to the scientists, it doesn't bother her. It's not very beautiful to look at, but it gives the scientists a lot of useful and necessary information about the polar bears and their development now during the climate change, how they behave.
Including hunting and killing a reindeer, which we saw, not its normal food source, which is seal. This is a ptarmigan, and beautiful, beautiful. They're white in the winter and they're kind of grayish, gray, like full gray, or?
Yeah, they're gray brownish with a pattern during summer. So they are almost impossible to see during both summer and winter. They are so adapted. And this guy this is a male, and you can see that red thing over his eye. He was actually
courting me.
yes.
And he just came up to the snowmobile, and I'm like, okay, buddy. And it just kept walking closer and closer, and then came
all the way up.
right to us. Beautiful, beautiful. And the wildlife, part of our observation, aside from collecting salt water, phytoplankton, drone, ice core sampling, snow sampling, is the wildlife observation. You know, how many of the species are you seeing? Where are you seeing them? Any behavior that's different. So this is just one of the many Arctic foxes that we've seen. And of course, reindeer. They are our neighbors. They live in our backyard. They're always around. And it's absolutely beautiful to just look out the window when the shutters are open and see the reindeer. We're going to, whoops, I just kind of went across. I don't know how to stop this thing. Sorry. I meant to sort of go back to that last one there, because let's see. Sorry, I'm new with this.
Are you on sharing now?
No. Right there.
There we are.
Okay, you see that?
Yeah, it's just loading up.
Oh. That one.
Perfect.
Just really wanted to end with that slide because we wanted to save some time for Q&A and everything. But, you know, one of the things that we've been so fortunate to experience are the seasons. And this is the magical blue light that is there in February and March, and it's absolutely incredible. And the ice breaking up and shifting and moving all the time, everything, our senses were so keenly alive. And coming back to Longyearbyen, I have to tell you, is really overwhelming. We have only been here for a couple of days, but yeah, it's been really something.
Yeah, it's a culture shock, that's for sure. But it has, we're going back. So I don't know, Joe, do we have time to show the little 4 minutes, how some live picture of how the winter has been as well?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Absolutely. Let me just bring that video back up here. But yeah, I think we should definitely take a look at it. It's a great video. While I'm pulling the video back up, I do want to give a reminder to those who are tuning in live that you can jump into the Slido room with us. So let me share that link one more time via YouTube. We're going to do the quiz shortly once we start a little bit of question and answer action. And let's see. There it is. Okay, maybe we'll put a pin in the film for now and just start a little Q&A action. It wasn't where I thought it was. So let's do some Q&A, and I'll have it queued up for closer to the end.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
All right. So we are going to visit with Carolyn. We are going to visit with Jeanette because they have a few questions that have come in so far. We've also had the Slido room open for a few days, so people have been able to send questions in advance. And so let's get a couple of the questions from the Slido room to start here. So here's the first one we've got. What are the biggest challenges that you found being isolated for so long in the Arctic?
The biggest challenge. Well, I think being so far away from family and friends has probably been the hardest part. But we were sort of prepared for this. We voluntarily did this. So we had some tools in order to cope with it, but we also brought them into our daily life. We talked about them, we thought about them. We had a lot of time to thinking. All our daily tasks were, I mean, like making food, heat the hut, boiling water, all that took a lot of time, and that was meditative for both of us. And so the isolation part was probably being away from our families, and I guess also knowing that they were not reachable for us. The biggest fear for us was something was going to happen to them while we were away. That was our biggest fear, and we would be so far away.
I think one of the biggest challenges was solving our own problems. You know, we are so far away. We can't Google anything. We can't call a handy person. We have to fix everything that breaks. And if we have something that breaks and we've never fixed it, we have to find a solution. And I think a lot of people can relate to that right now because nobody can come and visit. So it's tested our patience for certain, but I have to tell you, we feel like absolute rock stars when we solve like an antenna problem or a boat engine or fix a door. I think part of it is getting out of our own way and being patient. You know, slow down, don't endanger yourself in whatever situation you're in. If you're on the water with the boat or if you're on the shore in the cold, you know, and just get it done. So it's been a big challenge, but also a big win.
All right, I'm going to pop on Caroline's microphone and see if she has a question from the Youth Center.
Okay, I do. I have a lot, but I'll just start with this one first. So there's a great concern about disappearing sea ice and what the role plays for the survival of wildlife and also for our oceans. Can you speak to that a bit? I think that it's such a remote concept that, oh, the sea ice is melting, but we don't really, I think that when we're in the area that we are in the sea to sky corridor, we don't really realize how that actually affects, you know, krill, whales, bears, and then how that actually affects all of us in the end. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I don't think even the scientists know that for sure. But there are a lot of things going on. For what we saw was the polar bears and their behavior are changing. We saw a polar bear hunting a reindeer, and I've seen that once before on Svalbard. And so they are trying to adapt a climate with less ice or no ice, actually. When it comes to the ocean, it's a much bigger picture, and the ice is important for the early development of species living on the floor
Under the ice.
Yeah, and also actually they and then they fall down and live on the bottom of the ocean. But it's so much going on under the ice that we don't know very much about, but the scientists are really interested in us taking the ice course and in trying to figure out more. And inside the ocean, I mean, when everything melts down, the glacier, everything, the water gets fresher and sweeter, as we call it, and less salt. It scares away and kills, dilutes species in the ocean, which is extremely important for us, like phytoplankton that produce more than half of our oxygen in the world. It's algae, and they do not thrive. They actually die when the water gets warmer and sweeter, as they do now, and has done that for a lot of. And then you have all this the salt water, the heavy salt water that melts from the ice, sinking down very deep, like 3,000 meters, and make salty, heavy, salty, cold rivers. And all this is a sort of a pump system, or at least affect all the currents in the ocean, including the Gulf Stream. So it's so big topic about ice melting. It's huge, and it's eventually definitely affecting us as human beings.
All right, Jeanette, do you have a question from the library? Let me turn your microphone on.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the token library question, which is, have you been reading while you have been in isolation? And if so, what have you been reading? What do you recommend to us? And sort of the part two is, do you have any great titles of books about polar research and exploration that you would recommend to us?
Yeah, we had this long list of books we intended to bring. And then when it came to pack, it was a shorter, bag of books. I have read several books while I've been there. In Extremis is one of them. It's the Marie Colvin story. Highly, highly recommend that. She's a war correspondent, and she was on the front lines in Syria. Anyway, great book. One book that I reread that I had read many, many years ago that it just gives me the goosebumps right now to think about was Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. And, that story is sort of one that's coming to life right now because it's a silent spring in a different way. That book being about all the pesticides killing all the species, all the DDT, killing off so many species that there was a spring where they didn't hear the birds sing anymore. So they called it Silent Spring. But yeah, and in terms of books that we might be able to recommend, we can send you a little list, but off the top of my head, there's quite a few books that a lot of the researchers that we're working with, I actually have it in my bag right here. It's Norwegian though. Wow, you're gonna see something hot off the press. Okay, you're in the library, so you're gonna like it, but it's Norwegian.
It's coming in English shortly.
Yeah.
And it came out today, and we are the first ones that received one.
Our Frozen Water by Kim Holman, one of the key, he's the international head of the Norwegian Polar Institute. So anyway, there's lots of great material out there. Reading is so good. It's a great way to travel.
All right, I think we should take a little pause now. I've got the video queued up. It was lost in the black hole that is my desktop sometimes with pictures and files and images, but we do have it here. So let me cue that up here. It's just going to take me a second. All right, here we go.
Vi er ikke flinke nok, kanskje som kvinner, å selge inn dramatikken I det vi skal gjøre. For meg dette helt naturlig. Men det jo litt utenom det vanlige. Og det historisk også, som litt morsomt. Men jeg bare lurer på om det hadde vært lettere hvis jeg var en mann. For den finansielle biten av det har vært en litt sånn tung vei å gå. Og vi ikke på plass enda. Og vi har 4 måneder igjen.
I mean, preparation is key to any successful venture. And as hard as it is to actually even come here for the time that we're coming here in terms of all the logistics that Hilde's had to go through, and just even planning for a training trip is an expedition in itself. And so she has spent many months preparing for our testing trip. So that's a mini expedition, and there's no option to not come here and test equipment because this is the real deal. This is us completely disconnected from the outside world, self-sufficient, with all our, decades plus of experience. That's going to come in handy for certain. But then there's us wanting to live as sustainably and as thoughtfully as possible, and that requires, believe it or not, a tremendous amount of effort from both our equipment and the supplies that we'll be getting.
Så det skal vel berges. Skal I hvert fall kjempe for vannet vårt. her. Han gikk her, men jeg bare lurer på om han har snuset. Det ville jo ikke vært noe rart, for det er mat. Da går vi inn i mørketida med bjørn rundt veggene, Sunniva.
Ja, men da har et godt minne av å, herregud.
Ja, det er greit å bli påminnet at de er her. Så har vi hatt 10 isbjørner på besøk på 5 dager. Så er det greit å ha en vinduslem med spiker på om natta. Og du da, Etra? Pusser du tennene? Ja.
Today is March 9th. It's a full moon, and it's the first time that I see the sun since October. Oh, I have to open up the window. Oh, look at this. There it is. There it is.
Good.
All right, let's take it back from that screen share and let's get to a little more Q&A action.
Maybe Joe?
Yeah.
Maybe I just can comment because the first part there with me speaking, sorry, was not texted for some reason. What I was saying there is that we as women are probably not good enough in selling in an adventure like this, being dramatic enough, or I don't know to find the right word, but so it was hard for us to find financial help. Kind of still is, but we found a lot of support in female leaders around the world, and it's also I also said that even though I've been living up here and for so many years, it's kind of it's not an ordinary thing, but what we have done is actually a very extraordinary thing, and we're now continuing with the Embrace the Planet project and still searching, having the same problems finding funding. But the interesting question from me in the beginning there, would it have been different if I were and we were men? So that was just a question out in the open room there. So that was just that.
All right, awesome. So another question we have that's come in so far is, you've been in civilization for a few days. Is there anything about your daily routine at Bamsebu that you're really missing right now?
Yes. We haven't had control of our time at all here. So I personally miss really being connected to my day, regardless of what I'm doing. I also really miss my TA2 bands. They're orange and they're here in a bag up in my room. And that's what we used to exercise with. And we've trained once since we got back. It's a 30-minute little workout, but I miss it because it just sorts it all out.
Yeah, and I kind of miss the silence. Here it's so much visible noise. It's also everything we hear, what we see, what we smell. Being connected to the nature the way we have been every single day. The thing we listen for in the morning when we wake up is, what's the weather out like out there? Is it storm or is it quiet? And then we open the shutters and we see if it's a snowy day or if it's a midnight sun shining into our hut. So yeah, no, it's a totally different world we live out there.
All right, so we're going to get to the quiz in just a moment. I'm going to get one more question in. I've posted the link to the quiz one more time. Last chance to follow this link and get in for the quiz. Let's go to Jeanette this time and see if there's another library question.
Yes, I do have another question. So I had one of our great teen patrons submit some questions. She's not able to be with us live, but she was really interested in hearing some of your thoughts. And one of her questions was about citizen science.
Yeah.
And obviously, both of you are very passionate about that idea. I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit more about the concept of citizen science and whether you have any input on how young people or adults, kids, teens, at any age, can start to engage with the process of citizen science.
Absolutely. Great question. And I was first introduced to citizen science on a ship in Antarctica. A lot of polar operators now have official programs called citizen science programs. There have been through, what's the name of the organization? I can't think of it right now, but they have a list of all of the citizen science projects available out there for youth and adults.
It's hundreds.
Around the world. There are hundreds of them. The citizen science piece for us initially, I thought we were going to contribute data to scientists studying climate change in the Arctic. Sounds simple, sounds useful, sounds purposeful. The more we sort of peeled off the layer around that simple little idea, it became so much more. Citizen science was evolved. I'm not sure exactly how it started, but NASA is definitely an entity out there that formalized it with apps on a phone. So we have something on our phone called a Cloud Observer app, and it enables us to take images of the clouds and record what are we seeing, what kind of cloud types, and you take a photo up, down, east, west, north, south, and you upload it when you have Wi-Fi. And so I think they were one of the first ones to make this program be something available for all interested people that traveled around the world. As a concept, citizen science has become a really an exceptionally vital link between people like us, all of us on the call, and the researchers out there, because who understands research papers that are drawn up? Unless you are a scientist and understand the sort of language they write things in, it's very difficult to understand and make it relatable. So citizen science provides an opportunity and a bridge between people like us, the scientists, and then we create stories around all of it. And so that it's been a light bulb for both of us, and it's been something that we've learned so much around the protocol, why we follow it the way we do, what are they doing with it, how are they analyzing it, what is it telling us? And there's a lot that we've collected that we don't have answers for right now. I think one of the important lessons that we got today when we met with Kim Holman was just sort of reinforcing the fact that, you know, as people, we need to stay curious. We need to, you know, inhale more knowledge and information about our natural world. And when we do that, we will engage with it and then we protect it. So it's this beautiful little domino effect.
Yeah, and I mean, no matter what you are interested in, if it's a butterfly or if it's trees or clouds or northern light or whatever it is, you will find your interests available in some sort of citizen science program, I'm sure. And it's so much fun and everyone can do it.
I know that one of with the NASA work we've been doing, one of the women we've been working with has shared that they are lobbying for citizen science projects to actually get some formal funding and be adopted as a real official program for people. You know what? And if we could go and speak to that when we get home, we will, because I think this is a perfect way to actually contribute to our understanding of biodiversity in general.
All right, we have come to that time of the call. There's big prizes at stake here in this quiz. So we have 6 prizes to give away, the top 6. We will take your names and I will share Jeanette's email at the library. So you'll be able to reach out to her about that. So I'm hopping into the Slido room. I hope you're paying attention to the video. I hope you're paying attention to Hilde and Sunniva talking today. And I hope you're all in the Slido room, because here we go. 20 seconds on the clock for each question. The quicker you answer it, the more points. And of course, if you're right, the more points as well. So here we go. First question, where is Bamsebu located? What latitude? Was it the North Pole? Was it 78 degrees north, or was it 88 degrees north? Here we go. I see answers coming in. Juggling. We've got 5 more seconds. All right. All right. So looks like we have 68% went with 78 degrees north. So good job on that one. So we are going to jump to the next question now, queuing it up, and here it comes. What is the date that Sunniva said the sun came back in the video? Is it the 9th of March, the 10th of February, or the 2nd of March? All right, well, so far it looks like everybody's been paying attention. We're getting great results here. A couple more seconds. All right, 73% went with the 9th of March. Good job. Next question. What is the name of Sunniva and Hilde's 4-legged polar dog? Was it Etra, Bamsebu, or Nanook? All right. Couple more seconds. We've definitely heard the name a few times. All right, looks like 78% rolled with Etra. Good job. Next question. What is the normal food source for polar bears? Is it seal, is it reindeer, or is it Arctic fox? A few more seconds on the clock. All right, no fooling anyone here. 93% went with seal as a normal food source. And our final question is queuing up right now. What does the polar dog do with the reindeer bone? Play with it, clean their teeth, or smell the bone? A few more seconds for this one. All right, wrapping up the final question, 82% went with to clean, oh no, 77%, that just fluctuated, went with to clean their teeth. All right, leaderboard. We have Deborah Wade and Squamish, 5 out of 5 in 33 seconds. We've got Granby, 5 out of 5 in 35 seconds. Tia Horn, 5 out of 5 in 36 seconds. Shikari, 5 out of 5 in 44 seconds. And Soren, 5 out of 5 in 48 seconds. So I am going to share Jeanette's email into the chat. So if I called your name, actually, sorry, we can go a little bit further. Forgot that we have a little extra prize action today. So let me go back there. One more. Braden Atkin, 5 out of 5 in 53 seconds. Good job, everybody. And I will share that email in the YouTube chat. And I see Sunniva holding up a congrats to Deborah. So good job. Let's use the rest of our time for a couple more questions. So I'm going to go back here and let's see what we have. Okay. Ooh, I like this one. Who are your female role models in the field of polar exploration or climate research?
Yeah, well, we have Vanni Volstad. She was the first female trapper on Svalbard back in 1930s. She was a pioneer. She was also the first female taxi driver in Norway and the first one that had a heating system in her car. And this is back in 1930. And she was here for 5 seasons, and we've learned a lot from her way to preserve the eggs. Me and Sunniva has been eating eggs since that sort of expired in October until now, but we need to turn them every week. And we need to keep them from freezing. So that has been a little bit challenging inside the hut. But No, she was absolutely my big inspiration and a pioneer that we have been reading about.
I think I'm going to have to use the same name I shared earlier, the book I read, Rachel Carson. And there are a lot of more relevant, like current names that I would share, but she started the environmental movement and I think really paved the way for people waking up to understand that as individuals, we have a right to know exactly how our food is being grown, and what sorts of things are being used to take care of pesticides and weeds and all of that. So just a real eye opener, and I never get tired of rereading the way she writes. So that would be my vote.
All right, let's visit Carolyn and see if she has another question from the Youth Center.
Okay, well, I think one of the questions we had here was, you took an idea and then you made it a reality with this project. Can you tell us, for students, for adults, for anybody, how did you make that happen, and what would you suggest for people to do if they've got a great idea but they just not sure how to take it to that next level?
Do you want me to start?
Absolutely.
It's like, you take that one. That is a great question. And it's a very risky thing to share your dream with people. But number one, I would say that share your dream with people, because this project was an idea that was born from these two hearts. But it really was a project that we wanted to include absolutely everybody out there that cared about our planet. That's why we call it Hearts in the Ice. And what we did to bring it to life is we brought in the people who know how to do that. Very early on, we worked with a woman by the name of Kit Jackson from Strategy Together, and Karina Weinberg from a Swedish name that I can't pronounce right now.
Framgångare.
And they walked us through an exercise that in the beginning I was like, I'm a little over the age of 20, a little over 30, a little over 40, I'm a little over 50. I've done all those exercises around values and, your mind map and all that. So I thought I didn't need that. But regardless of where you are along your path of life, I don't care what age you are, I want to encourage every single person out there to revisit what they care about, what they value. As a person, what is important to you in with respect to family, your relationships, your job, what else was in there? All sorts of things. Just as a person, what do you value? And so we put together a strategy map based on our personal values and based on our values for the project, for Hearts in the Ice. And we had 3 pillars. And we revisited that frequently to stay aligned with how to achieve our goal. Because if you don't measure something, you'll never get results, right? So it's the same with us personally when we want to write a book. Which we're doing right now. How many people out there have the idea of writing a book in their head that's been there for 10 years or maybe even just a week? But the idea is that you create a timeline for when you want the thing to come to life, and then you walk backwards and you take one bite and one step at a time.
And also, sorry, it's a lot of young people out there maybe listening, and I think me and Sunniva, without knowing it, we have been preparing for this expedition since we were your age. Maybe 15, 16, 17 years old, by following our interest and our heart in exploration. And so we had the knowledge to fulfill and to go through with our dream. So believe that you can go for whatever you like to do in your life, and try to find something that you feel that is important for you, and maybe you can do a contribution to a bigger picture than yourself. That would be great. And then start to exercise whatever you need to learn or to to accomplish before you can fulfill your dream, and follow your dream. Believe that you can go through with your dream and start from there.
All right. And to wrap us up for today, obviously, you know, we see that clip where the ship is leaving and the two of you are kind of waving in the distance. So you had no idea what, you know, really what this was going to be like, this whole experience, how you're going to react. So what is one thing each of you have learned about yourselves from this experience?
It's tons. I mean, my wish from before we started was to learn who is Hilde when it's really rough times, when we have a full storm outside, we have angry polar bears that wants to eat Etra or ourselves. Who am I when if I long for something, or maybe we're disagreeing in stuff. So I think I've really deep in there have learned who I am. And that's very interesting, because it's a 5-year-old girl in all of us, and that's not always pretty. So, but
Or boy.
but it's really interesting. And we as people, we have a variation of good things and not that good things probably, but it's really it has been a adventurous travel inside. Very interesting. And yeah,
I'll share a quick little thing about that. And it is a very good question and a kind of a complicated one, but I have one simple answer that wants to fly out right now. I have learned how important our voices are, how important my voice is. And, you know, I have done some pretty cool things in my life, like a lot of people on this call, I'm sure. And I don't ride on those to let that be my voice. That's part of my past. What I have learned is how important it is to actually stand up tall and proud for what you believe in. That, you know, for us, this platform is all about communication and engagement. And we don't just create the project and walk away and go out and enjoy, you know, a snowmobile ride. It's really living in it authentically and with integrity every single day. And how important strong leadership is with that voice. And so it has made me far more critical, unfortunately and fortunately, for what I'm seeing out there today in terms of who's leading what country and, you know, who's not being taken care of. Because there is no reason for every single person out there not to be taken care of. So I'm so proud. I can't remember the name of the mayor in Whistler, but I'm so proud that Squamish has Karen Elliott at the helm, because, you know, strong leadership. We are leaders in what we're doing, and how important it is to actually continue to put yourself out there on the front lines and beat the drum for what you care about.
And the power of one.
All right. Well, I want to start off with a huge thank you to everybody who tuned in on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for sending in questions in advance. Thank you for taking part in the quiz with us today. A huge thank you to Jeanette from the library and Caroline from the Youth Center. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for organizing and gathering some questions for us. And Hilde and Sunniva, thank you so much, you know, for taking a little bit of the time that you have in an easy, warm spot before you head back out to a little bit of a tougher spot. Cozy, I'm sure, but a little bit tougher.
And thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Hosting all this.
And I think, is it all right for me to just share it, because we were talking about this earlier, that you're hosting a biodiversity conference online at the end of the month?
That's right. We have a big biodiversity festival, 45 plus speakers from all over the world, scientists, conservationists, virtual field trips. And that's the 22nd of May to the 24th. So check out exploringbytheseat.com and you can start to find some of those details.
Cool.
And to everybody watching and listening, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're going to sign off for today.